Welcome back to the Common Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pastor Jardula.
Hi, and I'm Fiorella.
And we have a special guest in the house tonight.
We are excited.
Yes, well, I shouldn't say tonight, I should say today, but she's here with us. She's no stranger to the movement. We all know her. Melissa Michelson, how are you?
Hey there. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see you. We've been to several events before and been around. Melissa Michelson went to Philly too as well.
She was a Bernie delegate?
Yes, she was.
She was a good Bernie delegate.
I was the whip, actually.
Not all Bernie delegates are equal.
I was elected to be the whip of the Southern California Democrat or the Progressives. So that was fun. They tried to kick me out, the DNC, of course.
So we have some pictures here of you there, and you. Let me start by talking. You say that the progressive movement in 2016 was very united. We were all coming together behind Bernie. We were all under the same mission: get Bernie elected, fight the corporate establishment, fight the Hillary Clintons, fight the Obamas, all of these people that want to maintain the status quo. Now, fast forward to right now. We all realize, we all agree with you, this is no longer the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I brought a little visual for later whenever you guys are ready, but I just feel like it's easier to see on paper, so to speak. So I'll show you that. And but yeah, we used to be very clear on what our objectives were and how we were going to get there. We were working together, but now things have kind of eroded. So we can talk about that whenever you want.
Do you think there's a reason for the erosion, or like why? I mean, just in real time, right now, like talking about it, because I start taking a look at what's going on the left, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, and especially in California, where everybody thinks it's like one of the most progressive places around. It's really It's fragmented.
We're eating each other alive. Yeah, there's egos. There's hurt feelings. There's we've lost sight of what we really need to do. So yeah, I mean, we can. Again, when you see the visual, I think it'll make sense.
Yeah.
So this is the state of the Democratic Party. Why do you think it's important for us to understand the fracturing of where we are here right now?
I think it's important just to be able to identify the different kinds of people in the movement. And when I'm talking about progressives, because in the Democratic Party, Bernie-crats, because once we actually kind of see the layout and the landscape of the different kinds of progressives that are out there doing, fighting the good fight, but sometimes their intentions are good, but they're doing opposite in reality. So if we're able to kind of look at the situation, maybe we can mend ways, and maybe we can work together better. But we really need to start working together more rather than being fractured, because that's exactly what the corporate Dems, moderate Dems, they want us to do. They're starting to co-opt the movement, and I'm very, very nervous about that.
The progressive movement.
Yeah. We had a great run in 2017, as I'm sure you know, where we decided in the California Democratic Party after Philly. We came back. Some people exited, but a lot of us stayed in. We stayed in the party. Mm-hmm. I actually exited for a little while because I thought, I was like, I'm done. Hillary Clinton's going to be president. I'm out. What's the point of this? Then I was like, holy shit. Can I say shit on this?
Yeah, you can say shit.
Okay, great.
I was like, PG-13, so only 2 shit bombs though for the whole show. So.
All right. So I was like, now Trump is president? No, that's not cool. We're going to have to do something. So it sounded like what was happening was the California Democratic progressives were going to start doing ADEMs, which is 2 years ago, and we had it was a good that was a time where most people were working together, and we got in. And we made a nice showing of that. And so now in 2017, and now cut ahead to now, there's more fracturing, and there's power plays and everything like that. Yeah. So that's what the Democrats want us to do, and they've been co-opting slowly. In the effort, some progressives, maybe we'll see on my visual, are more like, we need to work together with everybody, but look what happens.
Right. So before we get into the visual, I just wanted to ask you to go a little bit over your recent delegate run in 2019. How did that go? And tell us about the corruption you experienced.
Well, let me think where to start. Well, it was in an effort to not have competing progressive slates. As you know, and as the people watching may know, I'm the Feel the Burn Democratic Club president. I started Feel the Burn Democratic Club about 2 years ago, and we're an LA County-wide club, and so we're just kind of a stronghold, or I'd like to think of us as a placeholder, or just a place for Bernie-crats to get involved and just to make sure that the Democratic Party stays as progressive and left as possible. We're not going anywhere, and we're getting bigger and bigger. We have 250 members at the moment. So anyway, as such, it would make sense that that club be involved in ADEMS, in LA County. So several members wanted to get involved, and I was like, sure, we can, start doing that, and that sounds good. So we tried to work together. We tried to kind of figure out again the landscape of progressives working in LA County for ADEMS. So we're not having competing slates. That was really important to us. We didn't want to have any kind of infighting, and we wanted to just stay away from competing slates. We'll say, we'll work in areas if we need to backfill areas, or you want help in a certain area. We'll just kind of divide up the county and see where we can fill in. Well, that's not what happened. It seemed like there was already people kind of organizing, which is good, but every time we tried to work with them, they didn't want to. And so eventually, from my angle, I thought, okay, that's okay. They got LA County. I don't need to be involved in everything. Let's just work in our own districts. So that's what I tried to do. However, even there, because of this group that had already started doing things, they were like, no, you're not going to do that with us. I'm like, okay, well, how am I supposed to get involved, and how am I supposed to get all my progressives on a slate in my area to win? And this lack of collaboration really is very detrimental. And now, kind of jump ahead a couple months, no progressives won except for one. And there weren't that many progressives to begin with, because there wasn't working together. Like, I have a lot of people. Gabriel Ramirez.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to say his name because the CONVO Couch did show up to kind of film your slate and talk to you and people on your slate. So, yes, I saw that, Gabriel. But he did have a tactic to help him win, too, as well. So. Well,
he actually was on another slate to begin with, and I was also supposedly on a slate as well. But then I got kicked off for some reason. There was rumor and that I would start in my own slate, but that wasn't true, and so they kicked me off. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Again, I don't want to have competing slates. But once I found out that that group was not progressive at all, like maybe there were actually. The organizer of that slate said there were only 3 progressives on there, Bernie-crats. When I asked her, finally, when we got to talk about it, she's like, yeah, there are only 3. I'm like, well, who are the rest? And so it turns out they're corporate Dems, politicians, and all that. And I thought, oh, boy, I'm glad I'm not on that slate, but I got to do something. And so I started at that point a small slate of, I was able to get, this was 2 weeks before the election,
right.
2 weeks, which is unheard of. Got three progressives on the slate, and we ran. Gabriel was one of them, but he had already been on another slate, not that unity slate that I'm talking about, but on another corporate Dem slate. He was sitting in there. I adopted him. I'm like, yeah, you need to be on our slate too.
Normally, just so people know, it's not well received to be on 2 slates at the same time. However, he didn't plan for it. It just kind of happened.
He had been on that slate for a while, right? But I figured, no, he's actually a true Bernie progressive. Yeah. So there was myself and Sasha Renee Perez and other activists in the area and him. And there were other Bernie-crats in our AD that they didn't run because they weren't on a slate. They thought they were on a slate, but then they weren't. There was a lot of runaround, and in the end, I mean, there was no real progressive, no big progressive slate that was formed that I had thought was going to be happening. So we lost. I mean, we only got one progressive.
When I was there too. And if you want to see the people on Melissa's slate speak, You can go to the CONVO Couch Facebook, and Sasha and Gabriel give their speeches. And there are certain elements to this here, because I want to dive a little bit.
You were there listening to all the speeches.
Exactly.
Definitely.
I went and listened to the speeches.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew about the things that you experienced as far as the political aspect of trying to work together and not making it work, and that kind of political side of there, like, the inner politics, but also the system itself, the way it was set up. I had a lot of questions, and I told Fam about it. I said, this is FUBAR over here. They had a church going on, like congregating at a time of like votes when the process of the voting of who could vote, which was like open to anybody, which made me think, hold on a second, when these people break out of this church over here, are they going to get online and vote for certain people? And plus the way they were doing it, it's like they had people waiting in line to vote and then people doing speeches at the same time. It was so discombobulated. Everything was going all over. I was like, why didn't they just take everybody in, give them their voting sheet, sit down, listen to everybody's speeches, and vote like, in a great way, because now you're informed, you get to see everybody speak. But it seemed to be discombobulated on purpose. Disorganized, but on purpose. Because people are like, oh, no, we don't want to do it this way. Oh, no, we don't want to do it this way.
They didn't even check for if people were actually lived in that district.
No, they didn't.
You could have voted if you wanted to.
I could have.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But, the integrity. I'm like,
and
no.
so I've heard of other districts where they're busing people in from who knows where. And so there is no checking. I mean, there is a process for that, but it's it's very random. Like, actually, you can contest a person. Like, you could say, hey, that person doesn't live in this district. And then the convener of the organizer of that, which they're volunteers with the Democratic Party, although in my area, Judy Chu, Congresswoman Judy Chu sent over 3 of her staffers. So they're, I don't know why.
She was there.
Yeah. And she made an appearance for, to speak for the Unity group. But anyway, there's no way to check, or there is a way, but if you contest it, and you can look on the ADEM's rules. So anybody going into ADEM's this next weekend should be very familiar with those rules, so they're like ready to act if there's some funny business. But so there's the ADEM's regulations that says you could contest, and don't quote me because I don't have it in front of me, but you can contest the identity of 1 or 2 people, but in the end, the convener can decide to say, okay, we're not contesting anybody else. I mean, what? That is just
That's
ridiculous.
Like, no.
And then also in my ADEM, we had an issue of counting. We, after it was all done, there was the issue of not everybody was able to hear speeches. I ended up doing my speech inside, but then for the hundreds of people waiting in line outside,
I went speech on the hill.
And I did a speech on the hill.
On the grassy knoll.
Right, the grassy knoll, and then I got up on a bench.
Right here. I'm like, go.
Yeah, I did my speech there. I did it on a bench for the sake of the people waiting in line. But anyway, so there's that problem, of course, but then the counting was the problem. And you'd think that a political party would have their shit together to, count things, right? And votes. Well, what happened was they didn't count twice. You're supposed to have a second person check the counting, and they didn't. So even though we raised this as a problem at the beginning, the convener was like, no, it's okay. You can just observe and everything's good. And we're like, no, not everything is good. So we're asking, or actually I put in for a recount because there is a tight race between a couple of people.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're going to be recounting this week.
So apart from all of that mess, which is completely disorganized, lacking in leadership, etc., and this is from the bottom up, right? We're talking about the bottom. The bottom needs to obviously be reorganized. Now, as far as that, what you were saying about there only being 3 progressives in a slate that is marked as an entirely progressive slate. Now, that's a problem, because that's where we're getting into why would any progressive that actually wants to enact actual change work with corporate Dems? Oh, well, we have to use strategy is often the answer we get. We have to use strategy. We have to be pragmatic. We have to win.
Pragmatic.
These are all things that we always heard centrists say, but now we're seeing that seep into our movement.
Yeah.
So how do we get to the point where we think it's going to help to actually put corporate candidates and leave progressive candidates out? Like,
yeah, I mean, in my district, there were about 6 progressives that could have run total. That could have run on a slate, and having worked if I had the opportunity to work together with the other people that were claiming to be progressives and claiming to put a progressive slate together, then maybe we could have gotten a full slate. But you don't go to those lengths and say, oh well, now we have to be pragmatic until you've explored all avenues. And that definitely wasn't the case in my AD. There were egos, there were grudges, and that kind of colored the group's opportunity to work together. Yeah. And I've been willing to work together the whole time. So Fiorella, you said something else that really I wanted to respond to. I forgot what it was.
It will probably come back to you, though. It happens. But you got one progressive in. Okay?
Yeah.
But don't you tried to work with these people. You tried to talk. I mean, not mentioning any names, of course, but don't you think that the system is somewhat pragmatic, that it pits people against each other? Because we got one progressive in. Okay, and this is going to decide who is going to be endorsed by the party. So, nonetheless, all the corporate Democrats that get in, we're going to be given a choice of, once again, of shit or vomit to vote for because there's no progressives interjected in there. I mean, isn't the system itself, can't we just do away with delegates?
Here's actually, before I address that, I wanted to also, what I wanted to say was the really, really detrimental part in all of this. Yes, we didn't get as many progressives in our district because of this kind of, lack of collaboration amongst progressives. But the worst thing for me is that groups like Our Revolution, groups like Democrats, Socialists of America, PDA, Progressive Democrats of America, Roots Action, they all endorsed this one website, this adems.vote website. And I can tell you, at least in my AD, I'm not saying all ADs, but in my district, they were basically promoting corporate Dems.
And they weren't aware of this.
And I don't know how aware they were of it, but they were endorsing corporate Dems. So when DSA, I'm a DSA member, and I heard that in December there was a meeting and there was some decision by the politics group to support DSA members who were running. Myself and Sasha were and are DSA members, but when a member got an email from my organization that I'm really proud of being a member of, sending an email to me saying, "Hey, we're fighting corporate Dems, participate in ADEMS," and then I'm looking at my AD, who they got in AD 49. I was like, holy shit, these are corporate Dems, most of them, and where am me? What about me and Sasha? What about our progressive group here? And we weren't on there. So there's been stuff going on behind the scenes that I think it has to do with maybe we could talk about it on our little game board there, but so that's what's really is the problem, and that's the result of not being able to work together. So in terms of delegates and the system, I don't know. It needs to be rethought, and reorganized for sure. And the Democratic Party needs to get their shit
right.
together.
And I don't think that change of doing away with delegates is going to happen with those people that are in the party now. So it's that kind of catch-22. Like, we have to have our people in. We have to play by their game. Right? We've started to, but
this seems like a system that's everybody's going to be pitted at each other no matter what.
Yeah.
Once again, I don't want any more insider stuff. Why don't let's just have an election? Let's just have a convention.
It's important.
Let's think about it. I'm just saying and I'm not saying it's the way. I'm just saying the conversation should start from what I've just seen over here and the struggles you went through, plus the whole process itself. I'm an election integrity guy. Mm-hmm. There's no integrity in these elections. No. Mm-hmm. From what we heard, what happened down in Maria Estrada's friggin' district, they're bringing in buses of people and stuff.
Well, they left her name off of the paper. Yeah. They left her name off of the ballot. That's crazy.
We should just keep it open for discussion. But right now, and I think, Maria, Estrada brought it up the other day, it's like now you just got to play by their game. And you got to play better at them. So now that we know the game, you know what I'm saying, because it's...
but the thing is, we can't play if we're not playing with each other. And we're fighting against each other. Well, it's just it's not going to happen. You know
what I think. I said this before, and we didn't know this was going to happen. I think it was great that you did try to say let's not split the vote, let's not split it. But I think you should do your own thing out of your own group and whoever comes to collaborate will come to collaborate with you because you know who
You're
the real
damned if you do.
are.
You're damned if you don't.
You do if you don't.
You know, I could.
Next year,
no matter what.
Next time out, do your thing. So what do we got here, Mrs. Teacher? Mrs. Michelson, can I go to the bathroom? Okay, we'll play first. Miss Michelson is a teacher.
All right.
So explain to the group.
So, a couple of progressives and I, we've been talking about this. This is, even a couple days ago at the Yellow Vest March, people came up to me and were like, Melissa, how do we unite the progressives? We're always doing it. I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, I know, it's a problem. So I figured let's put this on a visual. And so I put this together after getting feedback from different people. And I don't know, are people able to see it?
Is it up?
Progressive spectrum in the California Democratic Party, and the pictures of politicians really are just there, just as
so they're not in order, right?
No, not in any particular order. And
not that she's right by the corporate den means
she happens to be there, but yeah, I'm not.
Your good friend over here, Mr. De Leon, right? And stuff.
Yeah, he's over
Barack
there.
Obama's signing on the other side of the check.
So we have the spectrum here, and on what would that be? On your right, yes, on your right would be the dinos.
Yes.
And then after that, corporate Dems. And then you have the faux-gressives.
What's a faux-gressive? Isn't that fox-gressive?
It's faux. It's like a fake progressive.
I thought it was like a fox dressed as a progressive. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, what do we got up here?
Then there's a big gap, and then you kind of have, I don't know, we call it the co-optables, the pawns, and their leaders. These are people that, we'll go into it.
I know exactly who those are.
They're awesome. They jam. I see they open for REM.
Then we have
co-optable pawns.
Some progressives, big kind of a gap, yeah. And you see that the co-optables are kind of heading over to the faux-gressives, corporate Dems, dinos. So then you have establishment progressives, detrimental progressives, and hardcore never sell out progressives. Now, by the way, pretty much all groups, depending on their motives, are calling themselves progressive. Mm-hmm. So really, the purpose of this board is not really to start labeling people or making people feel bad. It's just like, think about, this is, how are we going to unite all these groups? And if we're not able to define them, and this is by no means perfect definition, it's just brainstorming and a little bit of having fun with other people. But if we're not able to define them, how are we supposed to unify us? How are we supposed to unite? So anyway.
Know your neighbor, know your enemy, know whoever and stuff. And I'm not going to say anything, but the convo couch is definitely over here. So we'll leave that over there. So never sell out progressives here. We're further to them there, man.
Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call out some terms or mottos or whatever. And I'd love to see both of you kind of place your game pieces wherever you think they belong. For example, the resistance. What does that say to you? Who says that a lot? Who's into that?
Where do you want to go? You can lean in. Over here?
Put it on the...
Right here? So right in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to... You know what? I'm going to go a little bit closer to the co-optables.
And by the way, not one piece. You could also put them in... You can put different pieces because we got plenty in different places.
Well, she'll be in the squares.
Even the corporate Dems are resistance.
Okay.
So, the resistance is like anti-Trump in my opinion.
If I say here, I mean all the way down.
Oh, I see. So all the way down.
You know what I'm saying? She's a little bit closer. I'm a little bit closer to the co-optables.
So then I would actually do this then.
Also?
That's
what?
savage.
Okay, so you're getting this off here?
Yeah.
Okay, how about blue no matter who?
Oh, fuck.
And you could put various
today.
Yeah.
Fudge.
Here, you can put...
Where do you want it? Give me the square.
The blue?
Yeah. You're the squares, and I am the tall guys.
Okay. So...
But that's kind of like me and that's you.
From the co-optables on.
All right, so you're right.
You got plenty more pieces.
You're
okay,
right
good. How about... this particular group of progressives are heavy into identity politics.
Ooh.
Oh, Jesus. Hold on. Let me just put it on her face.
Okay,
on his
this
face.
one right here.
Sorry. No. Identity politics?
Identity politics.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. I got to say something. Right here.
Establishment.
For sure.
So, good.
For sure.
This particular group has good intentions to move the party left, but plays politics to get progressive things done incrementally. They mean well, but they do kind of incremental kind of changes.
Here.
The detrimental?
Well, there can be progressives, but
okay.
I don't. Yeah.
How about those that say revolution?
By the hat.
Okay. How about money in politics is okay?
Right over here. I'm gonna put it right over here in that guy's head.
You can put
And
it right there.
different one, money in politics is necessary.
Ooh, those are the corporatists.
Okay. So the corporatist.
We've got okay, necessary, and good.
Yeah.
All right.
Obviously, they're all over there. How about the Russians colluded with Trump? Trump colluded with the Russians.
No, they're all the way here too, though. There's a lot of progressives who
They're
believe
seeping in over
establishment
there.
progressives.
Bullshit.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm out of pieces. Is that all the questions? What do we got?
okay. Well-meaning, but a little bit power hungry. They hard to work with. They divide, and not intentionally or intentionally. People can't really work with them. They think they're being strategic to
They
unite.
think they're
Detrimental.
virtuous.
And they may want to tone down our values to be strategic.
Yep,
Where'd you guys put?
I went
I
establishment
went all the way
progressive.
here.
Yeah, I'm
Detrimental
on-
over there.
I honestly think we're just a very.
They do it the best.
Yeah.
They do the most.
How about they'll sell their soul for power? They need to feel important, and they're kind of sick of losing. They want a seat at the table.
Hashtag the
Establishment.
sellouts. The establishment.
Progressives.
They're like right over here.
They're easily
Which they're
swayed.
starting to lose their progressive tag in my ways.
How about the group that
100%.
says we need to unify, or you need,
Those
you're dividing us.
are the establishment.
Probably,
progressives.
yeah, over there.
Yeah, those are
They're leaning
definitely
that
you know.
way.
Yeah. So
God, we know too many of those people. That's the we know so many.
Look
of
at
these
how many people. Yeah, exactly.
So now, what does this say? I mean, those are just some of the big ones. We could go on all day. We could, different things. But really, what do you guys
the thing
think?
is, I'm not remembering what I did for each one. So
Yeah.
I'd love to know what I put for each one. Like it's like, okay, this was for that and stuff. But
This is our movement.
It's
Look
pretty,
at this.
You know
I see
what
you're
you did.
saying. But yeah.
Okay, so what I think this shows is that we're seeing a lot of what normally was only acceptable on this end kind of start seeping into this end and into our movement, because I mean the dinos aren't really progressive, right? But anyone from a corporate dem to over here calls themselves a progressive. Now what we're seeing is like all of this concentration here, because there's a lot of people in our movement, quote unquote, that have some progressive, tendencies, but their tactics differ, and also how much they're willing to give and take. There is a lot of that, like, well, I'm sick of losing. We need to win. We need to be practical. We need to be pragmatic. We need to pick a candidate that's strategic, et cetera, which we've seen go into the delegates. We've seen now these corporate people, like in District 48, Harley Rauda's district, where
We'll be there Saturday.
they are endorsing mayors, they're endorsing candidates, they're endorsing people who hold office to run against actual progressives. And so that's like, oh, a congressman endorsed me. Obviously on some people that's going to be a weight that shifts their choice, that has a lot to do with their decision. So I just think like what we need to do is just be completely honest that we are completely divided and we're being co-opted by this side. And also I do think that the people right here, you have the you have like the outside, the third party people, right? This is just the people within the Democratic Party. Now you have the people outside the party. I think we can talk to those people to get them to kind of help us out here.
But see, they don't want to come into our party because of this bullshit right here.
Exactly.
Right here. And you know what I'm saying? These people right over here have this sense of like sensationalism that really they want to be part of that group too as well. You know what I'm saying? So I think it kind of tweaks their mentality or their tactics or their wants or their needs. And it really, even though they're kind of rooted in progressiveness and they think they're socialist and they think they're too easily willing to bend because they want to sit at those people who are really over here, and that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, like looking at. It was interesting to see you each putting pieces in different places. It just shows that it's not clear cut.
Right.
Like this isn't by no means meant to be a clear cut definition scale. But be great.
This
if
side's
people,
a fucking mess.
Which side? The
left.
middle.
The Democratic Party. It is a mess.
The middle part. You mean?
No, the whole.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about when people think we're just going to go cakewalk and win. I hope Bernie runs because I think he's the only one that can really beat Trump. Because this side over here, if it's not God forbid. Because the one thing about this is that that's the one part where a lot of these people, I'd say 75% of those pieces, they'll get over here. They'll get back over there because
but there are 25%
because he
that
is a
won't.
Unite.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
at least.
I have a feeling that some people that we were feuding with or we disagreed with or we maybe not be on the same page with will come back because of this man. Because he does have that power.
Well,
he's the only one that really has that power.
I don't know. I think I thought that a couple months ago, but now that I see what people have other agendas.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure we're going to be losing people, and they're already going to start talking smack about Bernie. I was really hoping that Bernie would quote unquote unify us. But I'm worried. I don't know, because I see that we have these groups and there's power climbs. I mean, people are human.
Well, it's showing with this woman right now. That's what's really showing.
There we go.
What you're talking about right now, it's like, wait a second, I can't believe that you're talking smack on this girl.
We need to be careful with the detrimental group, the people that are, kind of, they want attention. We have to be careful with them. As soon as they start talking smack about someone, they're going to put everybody into a fizzy. People are going to start fighting about, no, I believe this person's better than this person. That's what the divide and conquer. That's what the corporate Dems want us to be doing.
That's exactly
and then they seep in when we're not looking, and they pretend they're progressives, and then they, then they end up on our corporate slates. And now, guess what? Then DSA and our revolution start texting for these people to win seats.
It's important that they know, though.
We are corrupted. We're not corrupted, but we are co-opted.
It's important that
we're done.
People like you that were in that process do inform people from our revolution and DSA, because I have a feeling that a lot of these big organizations, and we've seen it before, it's impossible for them to be aware of every single thing going on in every single major city and every single state.
Small. It's still a new movement.
There's just just no way. And so obviously, yes, we do need to improve upon that, but also we as people who see that need to inform them, because otherwise they're endorsing corporate candidates and they might not even be aware of it.
Yeah. And I think doing stuff like this is going to bring awareness to it in the future, and we might be able to get some things straight. And that's why I do believe we need Bernie Sanders to hopefully unite us all and get us back on track.
I think he can help.
So we're going to have to go to a commercial break real quick. You know what I'm saying? Can I get my turkey real quick? You got a little turkey for me?
All right, commercials.
You got it? I didn't hear the turkey. We're going to get my turkey talk. We're going to go to a commercial real quick. We'll take a break. There he is. Thank you for watching the Convo Couch. We'll be right back.
It's time for all of you to do the right thing. For the people. Not for yourselves. For the people. It's time for you to take care of people. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. All these conditions.
More than 13,000 firefighters are battling now. This is terrible.
That around the state, people dying. We got bad food in the Central Valley, bad water. Nobody cares. All you're doing is paying attention to what Donald Trump is doing.
Pressure to stay silent about it.
I don't know what I said. Pay attention to what Jerry Brown is doing.
Governor Brown keeps issuing oil and gas permits.
Pay attention to what the legislators and the senators are doing inside of this state. This is wrong. When you neglect the promises of the people, it's wrong. When you walk in this building every day and conduct the wrong kind of legislation, when it's not for the due process of the people, when it continues to be the due process for the evils of money. It's wrong when we have a Democratic governor inside of these doors that does the same thing that the Republicans and greed do. It's wrong for those people outside of the Central Valley that's number one in poverty, the Central Valley. It's wrong today in Fresno, California. It's wrong today in Bakersfield, California. It's wrong today for the Waterville, for fracking. It's wrong today for you not to pay attention and not have a concern today. Shut it down!
Welcome back, fam. We've got some craziness going on in our own backyard over here.
Apparently. You're really excited about this.
Well, we're going to let our engineer extraordinaire over here, Johnny Tsunami, show you the world premiere of our new segment called CONVO Couch Raw Cuts, where we just go out there and we show you what's what. Johnny, great work. Show it off.
Our union-endorsed staff lost their jobs right before the holidays and were unnecessarily humiliated and ostracized. Everyone knew we were closing our location on the first week of January, including the attorneys. There was a settlement resolution offered months ago, and we still await for the response. Rather than honor the judge's request, the choice was made to find a judge unfamiliar with the case, to sign a warrant, to smash, arrest, and humiliate, citing criminal activity, such as the chance of fighting firearms associated with narcotics trafficking. I asked politely where the evidence justifying the claim was established and the need for 14 SWAT officers was required.
So city councilmen, they trying to replace us with the big corporate companies. Yeah, maybe they have a deal with them. They already talked to them already. The excuse they're giving us, they have a ordinance. It says 600 feet from residential. LA is 90 feet. 90 feet? 90 feet, yeah. 600 feet away from residential, that's impossible to find a location in Pasadena. Okay. There is no way. We have patients, and then patients know us, and patients wants the existing shop to stay. They don't want to like big companies come to the Pasadena.
Great work, Johnny Tsunami. That was the world premiere of our first CONVO Couch Raw Cuts. Nice. Just trying to go out there, give you a feel of what's going on. We leave our advocacy out of this one. We just kind of present the facts, paint a picture, and show what's going on. And it's so crazy that this has been going on in our backyard because it's something that means a lot to me. When it comes to marijuana or Mary Jane or medicine or whatever you want to call it nowadays, it is exactly that. It is a medicine. So, fam, do you have any comments about the video right off the jump or before we get into anything?
I just wish our resources were used for many other things, like maybe the bikes or maybe for municipal internet instead of sending all these, cops, quote unquote, these law enforcement officers and SWAT teams over marijuana. Marijuana shops who have been following the law, nonetheless.
They have. State law.
So it just doesn't make sense to me.
It's murkiness when it comes to the props. The new prop, which is I believe is Prop 61 or Prop 69. I usually have it in front of me. I'm sorry. I'm so propped in the head because there's so many of them. But in this particular, with the new legalization, everybody knows they voted for it. Now recreational marijuana is in California. It kind of allows the city to kind of pull in and rein and decide who can have marijuana dispensaries. Only problem with that, and this is why a lot of us wanted to keep it only on a medical level because we thought it was easy to get it then, is now the corporations come in and they start manipulating things. So I just want to unpack that. Number one, that the people had voted and they decided on 300 feet being away from any residential areas, churches, those sort of things, which we'll get to kind of the language when it comes to that, when they say that. They went into a closed session, I believe, the Pasadena City Council, and decided to make it 600 feet. Why? They wanted to crush the small guys. They wanted to get the little guys out of there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If they're going to have marijuana in their towns, they're going to have it so regulated, so small in Pasadena, because they have this kind of conservative yuppie kind of council that has a bunch of, developers. You know what I'm saying? And they have this stigma. They're signaling to some of their rich areas in some of these districts, like it's been fingered that on the city council, Gordo is the one who kind of enticed the cops to go there. So this is stigma that we talked about, fam, that we can use all this money for all these resources, but no, they still treat it like it's crack. They treat it like it's cocaine. And therefore, they're justified in having 2 SWAT cars in Pasadena, 14 armed guards, putting people in handcuffs for hours, when the lawyer of the shop owner, you saw Sean over there, had already made a deal to close down until they can figure out on what's what. So they're abusing their power. They're not representing their constituents, and they're not doing their job.
Exactly. And it just another way for corporations and big pharma to come in and take hold of the marijuana industry, because the marijuana industry is not only, good, it's good for the environment, it's also very profitable. And I know Monsanto and Co. want their hands on that real bad. So this is another way corporations are actually working with our government and our officials, even as locally as the city council, to actually privatize that word, privatize the marijuana industry, and also profit off of it via a more unhealthy, we don't know what they're going to put in there when it comes to Monsanto and Big Pharma and any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's also, like you talk about Monsanto, it's not just about the money they'll make too. Now the product goes down. Now you get a crap product because they're going to be set hours, certain times. They're not going to be helpful. You got a lot of people understand with these small dispensaries, they have these crazy deals in certain times because they take care of a lot of homeless people. They take care of a lot of veterans who are on the streets. You know what I'm saying? These other people, they're just going to be ousted and pushed aside. They're going to have to pay ridiculous prices at different times. Now, here's the thing too, fam. They want to control debate. So by controlling debate, they control the rhetoric. And they still kind of stigmatize marijuana as a drug. For instance, take a look at some of the language they've used. And you can go and look online, Pasadena marijuana, Golden State, any of those things, those articles come up. And you'll see this. And this is by the city manager, Steve Mermel. He said, "This is the first of many criminal investigations we will be conducting at illegal dispensaries in an ongoing effort to maintain our legal responsibilities and the interest of the public safety." This was after the arrest. What fucking public safety are they talking about? Are they going to do the same things for liquor stores? Because alcohol kills 80,000 people a year. How many people a year gets killed by marijuana? None. Zero. So they control this whole thing. And even the stigma of this. Check this out, fam. Once again, the voters of Pasadena have made it clear that they wish to allow cannabis operations within the city. Yeah, no duh. I thought we settled this argument years ago. It's 2018. And marijuana, it's not freaking crack. But with reasonable regulations, such as a distance from separation of residential areas, schools, and places of worship.
I'm more offended by having a lot of churches around me. So.
But he's signaling.
They're virtue signaling.
They're virtue signaling
in a gross way.
Oh my! These are patients. These are not criminals. Yeah. These are patients. And they're not. And that's the thing. They're not doing their job. They're not representing their constituents. We've had this debate for how long? That's why I move. Exactly. The ones that are going to go out and vote, the ones that are going to have money, the ones who aren't consumed with 3 jobs that can go
their campaigns.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And that's in Pasadena. And we talk about. I went to one of your Field of Burn, the one when you introduced us as media. You had that guy who ran in Santa Monica for years, and he talked about, what's his name?
Kevin McEwen.
Kevin McEwen, look him up. He talked about the importance of local government, and it's important because these guys are dictating a lot of stuff that they're superseding what the state has said, and they're able with this new law to go in and manipulate, and that's why this prop was really, really, really bad. Okay, so here's the big reason why, fam. we covered the teachers' march, and you understand this, that this goes deeper than just, when we say stop starving the schools, this is about money going to charter schools. It's about the privatization of education, of letting people for profits. This is the same thing right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They've already been heard. There's a rumor that they've already been talking to the major companies so they can invest in their stock, and also they get their corporate kickbacks, fam. And by doing so, they're also abusing their power.
Wow.
So that is the local story. So stay tuned on what we're going to do. We're thinking about doing a protest out of maybe in front of one of the city council's office. You know what I'm saying? It's a to be continued situation. We're still out there fighting for the little guy. A lot of these shops, they give medication to veterans that are on the street, PTSD, and this is the best way. So stay tuned. We're going to keep following the story and show up at the next city council and keep protesting. And
whatever your opinion is on marijuana, it is now a legal recreational use, and it's also a medicine to a lot of people, as Pasta says, and even people who don't even use the THC, who just use CBD oil for pain. So this is kind of an attack not only on the marijuana industry, but it's more of so an attack on who controls that. They don't want the people deciding for themselves. They want that to be also privatized.
They want to control everything. And you know what? Pasadena City Council, you've been exposed. I got your ass. You've been exposed.
Nice.
Hear that one more time. Mayor Tornick, you've been exposed. Councilman Gordo, you've been exposed. We got you, and we're going to follow you. Do your job. Represent your constituents. You got elections coming up, and we're watching. Pasadena is a lot more progressive than people think. 10,000
the people are.
Yeah, the people are.
But they
voted yes on Prop 10. I'm very proud of my people of Pasadena. You know who I'm not proud of, fam?
Who?
Corporate Dems that are still attacking Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Tulsi Gabbard, by the way. And as many of you know, Kamala 2020, she announced
this morning.
But we're not supporting cops, so for president. So Tulsi Gabbard.
She can Kamala Harris can never win.
Well, in California, she has a lot of support, unfortunately. Yeah. So Tulsi Gabbard is diplomatic.
Yes.
But apparently that's seen as a problem, according to the mainstream media.
Side apologist.
So Politico put out this article saying that Gabbard says Democrats share blame to the shutdown. So where do we get from share blame to she is supporting Trump's plan and she wants to send immigrant children back? Literally, this is what I've seen on my feed. She's supporting Trump's plan. She wants to send immigrant children back home. She doesn't care about immigrants, etc.
Yeah.
So Tulsi went on CNN and also spoke to Jake Tapper, and he asked her if she were in the position to accept Trump's proposal, would she? And she literally said no.
No.
She said no. But she also said that both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, are to blame for the current situation. She doesn't regret meeting with Assad is another thing she also said, because she thinks that we need to talk to each other to resolve issues. So, but she might as well have said that she hates babies or something, because the way people were attacking her, they were vilifying her, is ridiculous. So let's just take a look real quick.
I hate babies.
Let me ask you, the president just offered a deal to end the shutdown. He would extend temporary protections for some dreamers, undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as children in exchange for border wall funding. Would you take the deal?
No. The problem here is that this issue, like so many others in Washington, are being relegated to partisan politics, where if a Republican is putting forward a proposal, Democrats are going to shoot it down. If Democrats are putting forward a proposal, Republicans are going to shoot it down. Really thinking about which party can call a win on this issue, again, which happens with far too many issues. And as a result, the American people end up losing out. So Trump is putting forward different ideas. Yeah. Democrats have put forward different ideas. But the problem here, and why we're in a situation where over 800,000 federal employees are going for now a month without a paycheck and suffering as a result, is because of the unwillingness to actually just sit down and work through the details that each side is putting forward, knowing that neither side is going to get everything that they need. That's what needs to happen here.
So I understand you don't support the offer that President Trump made, but what's your counter offer? I mean, if you want people to sit down and deal, what do you think should happen?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think it should be done on television. These negotiations shouldn't be done on television. We need to have adults coming together, sitting down and negotiating the issues that have to be addressed. The issues of border security, the issues of making sure that we've got the resources dedicated to where they need to be, and the issues that are still outstanding regarding immigration and immigration reform. Some of them have been talked about, dealing with our dreamers who are still facing uncertainty, who still have no permanency to their futures here in the only home that they've ever known, as well as the issue of TPS. I think there are a whole host of issues that need to be addressed, but they cannot be addressed so long as both sides are not willing to come together and have a real conversation and hash out the differences and come up with something that works best for the American people.
That's interesting.
Okay, so, fam.
What?
She said, the problem here is that this issue, like so many others in Washington, are being relegated to partisan politics. What's wrong with that statement?
I don't know. Is that it's true?
There's nothing wrong with that statement. If that were anyone else, if that were Bernie, if that were AOC, or instead of an army of pretty much pro-establishment operatives like twisting the narrative in the mainstream media, vilifying this woman, progressives would be supportive of her. Yeah. And the thing is, even independent media, I've seen some independent media follow the same establishment narrative. There's a difference between vetting someone and, of course, going through their record and saying, like, hey, you need to say something about this, you need to say something about that, versus, like, article after article of the same exact phrases, of the same exact things that aren't based in any fact.
They're vilifying her, the left, because she's not vilifying the Republicans, because that's their playbook. It's you have to vilify, smear. You can't talk to these people. They're awful. Don't even get in the room. If you don't vilify them, then you're a villain yourself. Right. Then you're an apologist. You're a Trump apologist now. And even those people saying, called it, and on the thread and all this BS, it's like, get your head out of your ass. It's time we get in the room and we talk. She said, let adults, don't put it on TV. This isn't the big old freaking dance with Pelosi, Schumer, and Trump. Stop it. Get in the room. Close the door, have the adults talk it out and work it out. Whether we like it or not, fam, the other side is there. We might as well talk to them.
She sounds very like she's being rational.
Yeah.
She's just being rational. Yeah. And it's almost like the mainstream media doesn't want her to be rational. She's supposed to be a crazy lefty. Yeah. And if she's not falling into that, what would that be called? Narrative. Yeah, exactly. That, pigeonholing her into this particular thing that they want to, spread around and then they're going to attack her. And a lot of people just eat it up. And it's like, oh, yay, now we're going to be, fighting each other. Now we're going to be against, we need media like you guys.
Well, that's not journalism,
non-corporate media.
That's public relations. Exactly. That's not journalism. That's like pretty much agreeing with the narrative. And like, she's not necessarily the presidential candidate I want, but it's not fair that I'm seeing her vilified with things that are being twisted. Now, she also said she didn't agree to Trump's offer. She didn't give in. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting all these people saying, well, she gave in to Trump's offer. No, she did not. She did exactly what she was supposed to do. So why are people disappointed? It just seems like people are disappointed just because she opened her mouth and said something. And I think she's attacking the game. She's telling us, that the left calls the right names, the right calls the left names, and then nothing gets done. And she said something really important, that the American people are the ones who suffer. Yep. And right now, there are people, 800,000 people, who have to go to work and not get paid. Okay. On top of that, in California, we have the teacher strike. And it's just all of this is coming together because these people are playing political football. Yeah. And that's all they're doing. And she wants to end the games.
You know what I love, fam, though? I love it. And Melissa, you should probably appreciate this.
What's that?
That the left is going batshit crazy and attacking Tulsi Gabbard. And the right in Fox News is going batshit crazy and attacking AOC. It's like, yo, we know who our progressive leaders are now. You've been exposed, mainstream media. Yeah.
Thank you.
You've been exposed. That's right. Sorry, I love that thing. Give them the X, Fox News. Just hit it. There we go. Go on, fam.
So another thing about Tulsi, she has been and will be continuously attempting to talk to people on the other side. This is also an influence from the military background where we're trying to sit down and resolve the issue, where we're trying to have a logical stance on things. The left sometimes doesn't like logic. They like emotion. And I don't want to generalize everybody, but it's just certain people that really do just go on emotion without reading anything, without watching anything. And they're like, what? She said this? I can't believe she doesn't care about the immigrant children at the border. It's those things like that aren't based on any kind of fact. So she's going to sit down and assess the situation and talk to other people, just like she did with Assad. And later on in that video, she says she doesn't regret talking to him because that is how we resolve problems. That is how we learn from how to defeat our enemy, if we figure out our enemy. I'm not saying she thinks he's an enemy or not, but what I'm saying is this is how you figure things out. You talk to the other side. And the problem with the left is that we refuse to talk to the other side. And it's the woke thing to do, actually, to talk to the opposition.
This is talking like a leader here. This is a leader. And let me tell you something, fam. We talked about this. When she came to town, she went on Jimmy Dore. She went on TYT. She hit her progressive mark. She went on MSNBC, CNN, whatever the case is. But she made sure she had to stop with Joe Rogan and talk. And to me, that's saying that she's reaching outside the political bubble. She's reaching outside to those people who don't necessarily vote, and she's going to bring them in. And it's to talk like this. Because let me tell you something. When she was serving as a military member in a war, she's going to talk to a lot of people who come from Republican backgrounds, but they're somewhat libertarian. And guess what? They don't want war either. They're non-interventist libertarians that don't want to spend the money on war. So she knows the importance and sees that coalition to work together. This lady's working on all cylinders, man. It's like she's really impressing me over here.
It's like, how dare you actually reach across the table and find, see if there's any kind of common ground. And if there's not, fuck it, we're done.
Right, and if there's not, they expose themselves. Yeah. Right?
Tell them they've been exposed.
You've been exposed.
They exposed themselves. Sorry, fam.
No. Just the most important thing out of all of this is the clutching of the pearls when you attack Democrats. So she says Democrats are in part to blame, and Democrats are entirely to blame. Let me remind you from the neoliberal mindset that pushed regime change wars, Hillary.
Yep.
Which led to the stabilization, of countries in Central America and in the Middle East, which then led to mass immigration into the United States, which then leads to right now where we are. So Democrats also failed to secure things for DACA recipients and also to stand up firmly and have a backbone on immigration, even when they had both houses, both the Senate and Congress. And so obviously, yes, there is a blame into Democrats. It's obviously not all of them, and Trump and the GOP have exacerbated the situation, making it far worse. But Democrats need to take responsibility. They need to take accountability, and that would increase their sort of credibility if they were able to do that. But when you start getting defensive instead of being proactive, then it just becomes clear that if you attack Democrats at all and you try to hold an accountability, you're going to be bashed. And it just seems like an attack on an anti-war, anti-establishment, independent thinker. She's an independent thinker. She's definitely has a D next to her name, but the way her mind is operating, I don't see. I agree with you. I see she's reaching across the aisle as well.
If you hired me to run McDonald's and said, I want you to be Burger King in sales, the first thing I'm going to do when I go into McDonald's is clean my own house. I'm going to get my own house in friggin' order before I go over and try to beat Burger King. She's trying to do what Bernie's trying to do. Let's go in there. Let's straighten our shit first. Let's get our house fixed. That's what I would do in any restaurant situation. Okay, we have an Italian restaurant across the street. I got to make my restaurant better than that restaurant. Well, what's the problem going on in here? Are the waiters working right? Are the bartenders working right? And she's asking the same thing. Are the Congress people working right? Did they make the right moves? Did they cause this immigration problem? Was it 2009? Oh, it was Barack Obama who was in office, and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were all behind Hillary Clinton while they're lobbying to overturn a government by using the CIA, causing a mass migration problem. And fam, you've been down to the border 4 times in the last 2 months. Where are the majority of these people coming from?
Honduras.
Okay.
And they literally say
accountability
that the United States causes this mess, this chaos and civil unrest, and then these people have no choice but to come here. They know that. A lot of them know that. They just, they can't do anything about it.
Let's also not forget she's doing an interview on mainstream media, corporate media. So they have their slant. They're going to edit it, or they're going to ask the questions in the way that they're going to do it and get their sound bites out of it. So we as consumers of, or whoever watches mainstream media, need to be very critical of, eyes wide open about what their angle is, and not take things out of context. I don't know in this particular case if it's been out of context, but I'm just thinking in terms of, the interview I just saw here was she doesn't have much time. She's, to explain herself. So for her to say, the Democrats are also responsible, I think the clutching of the pearls is a perfect visual for me. It's like, how dare she? And there you go. Someone can go off on that. And another thing is, for in general, we need to be careful of, I think a lot of people think they want to be purists. They want a perfect candidate for for president. Even with Bernie, nobody is perfect. So I mean, in the end, we're just going to have to be critical consumers of whatever the media is feeding us. So
right. Exactly. So that's why we have to think for ourselves. And another thing the last thing on the Tulsi thing is if this were about border security, which it's obviously not, it's about white supremacy, and Trump playing to his base, then they would at least. She could be able to show that if we sat down and talked to the Republicans, and you could just see for sure that it's obviously not about border security, because they could agree, Democrats could agree to sit down and talk about border security, and by that way pretty much expose the Republicans. But they don't do that. Instead, they're just going back and forth. And right now, yes, we cannot give in to that, and Tulsi agrees, but we also need to actually find solutions instead of just arguing back and forth like children. And that's all she's saying.
I think there's a deep part of it that's also, it's rooted in white supremacy, but I think there's a big part of it, and this is what a lot of people get away from, and why I don't kind of say it's just about that, is that a lot of people think it's about jobs. You know what I'm saying? And people coming in and they see themselves struggling. And we know that it's like, okay, but wait, the jobs that they're doing are the jobs that they're American doing. But even this movement within France and, within Europe, when we talk about the stand-up movement, there's always this issue of like, well, immigration coming in is always going to be a problem to be dealt with. So I don't think it's so as much just kind of as racial it is as deep. There is the majority of the people who want that wall. It is about white supremacy, but once again, that's why I want to, no matter what, go back and fix the root of the problem.
Which is,
no matter what,
the intervention.
Because it's the intervention, the imperialistic mentality,
which Tulsi does not support. She's constantly talking against having an interventionist, military mentality, and she is a veteran. So to me, those two go really well, and I could see her doing a lot in foreign policy in the future. So this brings me to my next point, fam. This is just this last little thing I have
in the morning right here. She sees signs like this. This wakes
fam
up better than coffee.
Because
show it up there.
If Hillary Clinton were president, we'd be at brunch right now.
Give it a bell, Johnny. Give it a bell. Fiorella's coming out. Tell us, Fiorella.
I just don't think the latte liberals have learned a goddamn thing. I really don't. So this sign is actually from this year's March. We've seen several signs from previous years, but this gets me going, fam. As you know,
more than coffee.
It's just infuriating the amount of privilege it takes to even think like that. And so I'm going to read something that I wrote because it pretty much explains how I feel. So I said, if y'all still think you could have just sat back and went to brunch if Hillary won, you're wrong. And you need to realize that the problem is the entire system that led to Donald Trump versus Hillary scenario in the first place. Trump is a symptom of the problem. He is not the problem itself. You replace him with another neocon or a neoliberal with a D next to his or her name, and things won't change. Things will change when we become proactive and see that we need to try something different. The solution isn't just knocking him out, but doing the work, organizing, getting involved in our communities and pushing people forward who are going to actually challenge the entire structure of the system into something that works for all of us. Just assuming someone else will look and take care of it is why we've come to the point we've come. You have the power. We have these voices and we need to use them. And for the record, I love me some brunch.
Yep.
every day of the week. So, but this is exactly this kind of mindset that, you know, if Hillary Clinton were president, if another person like Hillary Clinton, say Kamala Harris or someone like that were president, we could just continue ignoring everything that was happening around us. And that's the problem, is that we had been. And the good thing about Donald Trump winning is that there is no way all of that hasn't been exposed. And now we can't go back, which is why the progressive movement is so divided.
Well, the Russian narrative keeps trying to get people to hopefully that they can get back. They still think they can wipe out that election and do it over again.
If Trump
you ain't going back. You lost.
If Trump didn't collude with Russia, then, you know, everything would be okay. No, that's not the case. The fact that the whole Russian narrative exists in an effort to you know, subvert the responsibility away from Democrats is actually the bigger problem.
Remember when Russia called white people super predators or black people super predators? Russia did that. Yeah. Russia did that. Remember when Russia didn't campaign in Michigan? And remember that when Russia did that? Yeah, right. They didn't want to take any accountability for themselves. Speaking about accountability, we got to get out of here very soon. But just a quick update on our show last week, which we did a big Tulsi show. And we also did a show about Daraka. And we're big Kimberly Ellis supporters. We got to talk to Kimberly Ellis. We had her a clip for her on the show. We got to meet her at one of the potlucks and stuff. But Daraka was named in the lawsuit, and it says some very interesting stuff over here. And I'm just going to read one part of it. We're going to put it on up, but I'm going to read number 58. Larry Moore Hall responds in effect told Kate that Larry Moore Hall was not willing or able to support Kate as he promised. So in other words, we had the allegations, which it says in 57, if you read the whole thing, pretty much gone to Daraka, and Daraka said he would support her, but then he pulled the plug. And he said Kate was afraid to go to HR because her complaint began the process of removing Bauman. And because of their reluctance to address the concerns about the impact and the involvement of a certain lawyer having on her. Okay? So pretty much Daraka, who was said he was going to be supportive and protect the victims, turned his back on the victims because Big Boss Man, he was scared and he backed down. So I think that it's his ass, Mr. Postman. You get that on there real quick? Bye, Daraka.
You've been exposed. That's an exposure.
It's your ass, Mr. Postman.
Daraka, sorry. It looks like his run might be over. Who knows? He might stay in there. I still think that Kimberly Ellis is the favorite.
There is
Mr.
another
Hicks,
candidate,
who jumped
Rusty
in the ring.
Hicks.
But we are very nervous and I'm very cautious, hoping...
He's supported by Anthony Rendon.
I'm hoping that DeLeon does not jump into this process because I do not want DeLeon to have the chair. I believe it belongs to Kimberly Ellis, and she's the leader we need right now. And listen, this is when it talks about ideology, rational practicality. She supported Hillary Clinton at one point, okay? And the progressives are standing behind her, whereas if Mr. Daraka Larry Moore Hall was a Bernie-crat and is now getting more of those, what we saw on the board, those establishment progressives.
Real quick, fam, I don't like using those terms because the establishment types use that. They're the leader we need. She deserves this. It's her turn. No.
But
she has the
policy
most
in her plans.
Policies.
Policy
she has
plans.
the stances that are progressive, and she's actually has experience. She's been in a lot of leadership positions. She ran before. I think that's what you mean. Like, she ran before. She knows the progressive people. She's comes to our events. She does the work. She's standing with us.
She's about election integrity too. It's really
all
important.
of that. All of those things within the California Democratic Party are important. But she also can talk to many Democrats of all kinds, whether they're establishment or not. And I think that's also important too when we're talking about a transition.
Like that. Yeah.
So,
are you supporting Kimberly?
At the moment, I am, yes. I think, as a leader, I haven't personally, I'm not sure how, in terms of values, how progressive or not progressive or where she stands, However, as a leader, I can see her bringing the party together. And that's what we need to do.
I watched her on all those debates. The first time around against Bauman, those debates were great. Everything she had to say about as far as they're not just going to come through and just use California to get their money and go. If they're not standing by our values, they're not playing by our rules, no, we're not going to campaign for them. We're not going to get their money. They're going to be, we're going to stand by our values. She talked about election integrity. I think she's a great choice. So let's finish up with this last one right here. We got a little bit of a game. It says you can only go to 3 shows. Fam, give us your 3, 2, 1.
Oh, damn. Way to put me on the spot.
Well, you already looked at this, so you know.
All right, so
who's the third choice?
I would say the third choice is probably Whitney.
Whitney's number 3.
Uh-huh.
Number 2.
Number 2. God, this is tough. I would like to see Kurt.
Who?
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt, Nirvana, number 2. Who's your number 1 show you go to?
Bob
Marley. My number 3 for sure is Amy Winehouse, because
her too.
you know, I thought about it. It might have been Whitney, it might have been Michael, but Amy Winehouse is number 3 because number 2 is definitely Bob Marley, who could definitely easily be anybody's number 1. But you know me, number 1. I love it when you call me Big Pasta. Biggie Smalls, top left, number 1. Miss Michelson, you got a 3, 2, 1 for us here?
I'd be going to 3 Prince concerts.
There you go. Prince, and Prince. Thank you for watching the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. Please do us a favor. Go on to our YouTube. Subscribe. Like our Facebook. Help us out. Take a look at our Twitters. Follow us there. And now we have an Instagram.
And an Instagram.
My name is Pasta Jardula
and
from
I'm
Melissa
Fiorella.
Michelson.
Convo out.
Here she is. All right.